Welcome to this Bannerflow webinar, where we will be talking about how to maximize your success using DCO. My name is Caroline, and I work with performance marketing and insight management at Bannerflow. And with me here today, I have Jasper from Bannerflow, and with us online, we have Michael from Elköp.
Hi, my name is Jasper. I'm a product manager here at Bannerflow. I've been here for around a bit more than a year and a half, mainly focusing on understanding what our customers' desired outcomes are and how we can kind of translate that into neat types of solutions. Other than that, I was also within the customer success organization, in which we also mainly focused on the desired outcomes and help realize that for our customers, essentially.
Michael, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Michael Larsen. I work in Elköp Elgiganten Nordic, mainly with performance marketing and data activation there, and also use of banners across banner networks and similar. Have worked with the Bannerflow as a tool for quite a few years by now.
And I've been working with performance marketing for close to 10 years now, within different industries, and both on the agency side and on the advertiser side. And I've been working with companies for a long time who's just getting started on the DCO journey, but also companies who's been working with DCO for quite some time. So let's get started. Current advertising landscape. So there's no secret that it's getting increasingly difficult to reaching your audience online. And the competition about audiences are increasing, and we can see change in buyer behaviors as well. So today, the average person sees between 4,000 and 10,000 ads online every day, which puts high demand on advertisers delivering tailored message towards this audience at the right time and in the right context. So in fact, 84% of customers says that being treated as a person and not a number is very important to them in order for them, for companies to actually win their business. So at Bannerflow, we can also see that advertisers are looking more and more into technologies such as DCO to stay ahead of competition, but it's very tough to know where to actually start with this and where to start looking. Before we get into some good discussions here, what is actually DCO? So DCO stands for Dynamic Creative Optimisation, and at its core, DCO is a technical solution for automatic optimization of ads in real time, based on a clearly defined set of rules. So through DCO, advertisers can personalize ads towards specific viewers based on viewer interest or viewer data. So from one template, advertisers can build several different custom variations towards different audiences. And these audiences could be based on, for example, demographics, it could be based on data, and it could be contextual targeting as well. So let's look at how it could look. So for example, here you have a template and 3 ads. These 3 ads look very similar in its form, but they're actually quite different in the creatives. So all of them assumed from the same template. As you can see here, user A is interested in tennis. So the creative will reflect tennis. And then we have user B, who's interested in running. And this creative will be about the running then. And then we have a user C, who's interested in basketball. So the creative then will be adopted towards that user's interest.
One thing I'd like to understand a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind, is also the data that you also retrieve in order to have these creatives set for the said personas. Is that usually through third party then, that they've been on the site and showed interest towards, let's say, tennis?
Yeah, so it could actually be first party data or third party data. It could be whichever you would want to. So you have endless possibilities here on how to set up your targeting for DCO. How does DCO actually work? So in short, DCO then, as we mentioned, combine input from your creative management platform, your CMP, and data management platform, your DMP, and then your demand side platform, your DSP, lots of acronyms now, with an algorithm. And it's picking the best combination for that specific viewer that you're trying to target. And it puts the ad in front of that viewer. And then it will also optimize this creative based on the progression of the campaign, so how the results actually are coming together. So it's a very interesting format to be working with, because you're actually using data in your creative. So with this as a background, Michael, you and your organization have been evaluating using DCO. Can you please tell us a bit about that and the benefits that you see for your organization?
Yeah, the most important thing is being effective, both in regards to hours put into working with creatives, timing assets and getting everything up, but also in regards to the point you just made of making sure we have creatives that are suited to the correct target audience, whether it be in-market audiences or really just being a lot of I/O placements, like specific placements on category-specific placements. In our case, it would be TVs or white goods or whatever, where we have some deals done, where we have placements running all the time. We would much rather do one template and then let the data decide what we show via the feed, instead of doing 8 or 9 different banners for each of the placements.
What would you say is like the primary motivations behind the Elköp's interest in DCO, or also yours?
The primary motivation is being more effective, spending less time on creating, so there's more time to actually test stuff, making sure you get the right templates, you work with your templates, instead of using all the time on creating a lot of the same assets, just with new content in it, with a new product in it or something like that. But working with templates, we're working a lot with attention, the attention economy, and making sure that you have very limited time with the user. So you really want to make sure that what you show is the right thing, and that they get the point, not overcomplicating things.
Awesome. And also from your perspective, what are the key benefits of the DCO that could bring Elköp's or to Elköp's marketing strategy?
I think a lot of what this will allow us to do is we have a huge catalog of products. We have a lot of strategies running across a lot of different all these categories. We have 100,000 products, let's say that, across a lot of different categories. If you need to run a specific strategy on each of these different categories and do creatives handheld, it's not possible. So if you want to be able to show the public what kind of inventory you have, what kind of products you have, you need to have some kind of automated setup like a DCO. And it could be really advanced in regards to using, like you said, both the DMP, the DSP and everything. It could also just be really down to saying that, yes, I have a TV feed, I have a washing machine feed, and so on, and let that work its magic through there. So it's you can do it really complicated, but you can also do it really simple, but it'll still save you a lot of time and make sure you're more effective. So
awesome.
So it's the time-saving benefit and the efficiency ones you're seeing, Michael?
Yeah, time and media and time efficiency, definitely.
Michael, in your opinion, why would multinational brands work with DCO? We
are a Nordic organization based out of Oslo in Norway. We have 4 different countries, of course, Norway, Sweden, Finland and Denmark, meaning that you create localized banners for all 4 countries. So just by starting with that, you will have potentially 4 different templates, 4 different countries creating all the banners themselves. Or you could work with one template that will be copied to all countries, and then they can work with the localized languages there, while using feeds with the local products, with local naming, with everything. So I think especially on multinational brands, you will see a big uplift, a big time saver in using a DCO, because the more language versions you work with, along with different in-market segments and everything, the more the reason to start working with the DCO. So it's definitely really important. From our point of view, we've also included our creative agency in working with this, meaning that they create some of the templates and then they are pushed to the local countries to work with from there. So a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, is there any particular markets or segment where you see a greater benefit for using DCO, or is it across the board that would make the most difference?
It's really across the board, both because, of course, there are some categories that have bigger inventory or bigger catalog, or whatever you want to call it. But it really is across the board that this is necessary, both from a media standpoint, but especially for the time saving. We run new campaigns every week, 52 weeks a year, and we run several campaigns in lots of these weeks, meaning that you really don't have the time to do everything handheld from the bottom up every time. So it's it's really important for us to go on this journey.
Is there any potential challenges or roadblocks that you're seeing or taking into account?
Yes. From our point of view, as a Nordic organization and a local organization, there's ownership in the setup. We as a brand use Karat Densu, both Nordic but also locally, meaning that we need to have ownership in each country on this, because if you have technical challenges or anything, you need to make sure that there is ownership on a local level as well, because it's used both on a Nordic and local level. So I think a lot of this is getting ownership across the board and understanding of how much this will impact your everyday work. It is technical at first, and you can really overcomplicate it. And I think it's super important for everybody to see the sheet and say, okay, so it is really just about a Google sheet or whatever. You control it in and then take it from there. So not the most important thing is really to not overcomplicate it. We have a tendency in the marketing industry to throw around a lot of acronyms. We talked about this previously as well.
Yeah.
And the creative people will just completely back off on this. But if they see the sheet and it's, okay, it's really not that complicated, then, the journey gets a lot easier. So I think starting simple and then expanding from there is probably one of the key things.
And you mentioned that you're working with agencies as well. How are you planning on taking this DCO journey together with them?
The setup we've done so far is we have our creative agency doing the templates, like the rough templates, and then get that pushed in, or they're working directly in Bannerflow, and then we adapt them and work with them across the board on the local level and Nordic level. And then our media agency is doing the activation. They're also the ones doing the technical setup, so to speak, in regards to getting the DCO part up and running.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Michael. I also want to understand a little bit more in terms of, as you're moving towards the implementation of DCO, or maybe already have implemented, you probably have a clear idea what your key metrics are, or KPIs that essentially you monitor to gauge its success.
Yeah, we do. The usual media metrics, of course, making sure you have your time with the consumer, your click-through rate, your ROAS, but also very, very much working with the attention economy, making sure that we have creatives that stand out and get attention. But most of all, that are aware of the limited time you have with the consumer, like between 1.5 to 2.5 seconds on average on a banner. You really need to communicate really simple and straight to the point, so you get some attention. Otherwise, it makes no sense. So it's mix of attention economy metrics and the usual, so to speak, KPIs you would have on a banner. So, yeah.
So once you have this all up and running, Michael, how are you planning on refining this process based on the feedback that you're getting on the data?
It's really a lot about making sure that we keep updating the templates, and this is what the DCO part should allow us to, is to have more time to actually work with the creatives, making sure we see what is the result of this, what happens when we change the template, feed this back into the template via our creative. So hopefully this will allow us to do more of a test and learn setup. It's something we all talk about, but if we're very honest, and not a lot of us get to do on the everyday basis because we are so busy doing the next campaign, measuring, and then the next campaign. So this will allow us to have more time to actually do a test and learn setup and improving creatives as we go.
So am I also understanding it more correctly as well? Like with the implementation of DCO, you are able to do a bit more always on type of campaigns, ensuring that everyone sees your products that have also shown interest towards those products, but also then alleviating some extra time to do some more specific or particular marketing campaigns as well.
Yes, definitely. Basically, it allows you to have your bread and butter, so to speak, campaigns running without having to go into the engine room all the time, making new creatives and everything. So focus more on the performance and on the extra campaigns, which are also easier once you're working with a templated setup. So yes, definitely.
I'm going to cover a little bit on how we at Bannerflow enable DCO for advertisers. As Michael mentioned, DCO creatives themselves are usually quite complex and require quite a lot of time to produce, and it's usually also in this case provided to agencies to create, which is also looking at quite expensive. Where we kind of fit in within this ecosystem, if you may, we're a creative management platform, so what you can do is easily create and design your ads, which is also templates within DCO. We at Bannerflow then provide a drag and drop UI essentially that automatically translates this to HTML5 code without having to do or know any type of code, which makes it very easy and fast to do DCO creatives as well as any other type of display, social or on-site, digital out of home really, for any type of network. Once you also have your designs, we have a lot of features to help make the process more efficient, such as scaling it out to all of the different sizes that you might need, adding on any type of versions if it is that you are doing several different markets. It's quite, it just essentially just duplicates the creative templates that you have, allowing you to add any other additional type of messaging in said languages. Other than that, we also do allow for seamless distribution to all of the different networks. Usually we see within DCO frameworks, it's most common is Google or AdForm. We also do any type of custom integrations should any of our clients need. But also with the distribution part, we do have a live connection. So it does allow, as you refine and look at the data and the performance of said campaign, it's very easy to update across all channels with just a click of a button, really, which makes it a super smooth and easy process across the board for any type of channel that you're looking to advertise in, including for DCO.
So Jasper, what value do you see Bannerflow actually bringing to its customers that wants to work with DCO?
I think it's also great to hear from Michael saying that one of the main things is essentially reducing the time of creating all of these different types of creatives, because we really do reduce the lead and production time of any type of creatives within our platform. Of course, reducing the complexity, or by reducing the complexity, I should say, we increase the creative freedom within the platform. We don't do any type of restrictions. You are, of course, also always free to add any type of templates that you want to reuse for later with easily duplicating them. But then you also have the part of increasing the performance and management. Within our tool, not only is it that you can change any type of messaging, but you can also do it on a creative set level. So you can also utilize different creative template sets for your DCO endeavors, ensuring that you really target the right person with the right type of design as well, because I'm sure I have a particular perception of what design interests me and what catches my eye in comparison to someone else. Perhaps you, perhaps Michael as well. So I really think that it just kind of covers those areas. And then, of course, it's the increased agility. You have the ability to push any type of changes live that you make with these, like just pushing a button, and that's reflected within all the different markets that you have this set up, as well as across all the different sizes. So it's really just making the whole process very efficient for you.
So how do you ensure that the CMP remains user-friendly for designers? I mean, marketers as well, who's implementing DCO?
So with Bannerflow, what we do provide is a very intuitive type of design platform. If you have used any type of, I don't know, Adobe Photoshop or After Effects, it translates very neatly, as well as for me, some that hasn't done a lot of design can also figure it out quite easily. And then it's just as simple as that. I wish I could talk more around if it was more of a, let's say, harder type of topic, but it's very simple in its nature. It's just a drag and drop and happy go days, essentially.
I know that we also have some examples of the workflow here. You want to explain that too, Jesper?
Yeah, of course. So essentially this just describes a little bit more where Bannerflow is within the ecosystem, as we kind of talked about, as well as reflecting back to, or referring back to what Michael said, that it all just kind of comes down to a Google Sheet. So within this illustration, you can see on the far hand left side, you have the Bannerflow with 3 different dynamic creatives, so 1, 2, and 3. And then within the sheet, you have all the different audience segments, what type of content should be displayed within the CTA, let's say, or if it's a headline or anything else really, or if it's a feeded element, I should say also. This then also connects within Google Studio and the DMP and CDP. And then you have on the far right side the 3 different creatives that are then displayed, visualized for whoever is interested in tennis, basketball, or running, let's say.
Do you see that more and more of Bannerflow clients are looking into using DCO as well?
Yeah, many times when you have a new client, it's we want to do DCO, and it's firstly and mainly trying to understand, well, what is it that you want to achieve with DCO? Many times people want to run before they learned how to, let's say, walk or crawl. But yeah, overall, it's many clients have a lot of interest, and also many clients do follow through on it. It does make the whole process, as Michael also referred to, more efficient, utilizing Bannerflow for that endeavor, but also being able to showcase and remain relevant within your digital advertisement. And then, of course, if it is that you want to do it digital out of home on screens, if it's contextual targeting, let's say the weather is a bit on the snowy side and I'm a ski resort, then, you know, why not slap on some snow, essentially, and we can do that very easily. So yeah, I think many times the main or end goal of clients is to kind of move over to a DCO to remain relevant and have relevant advertisement for their audience, really, to help increase any type of KPI measurements that they're running.
What would you say is the biggest roadblock for a lot of advertisers trying to look into DCO?
I think many times it boils down to the data they have and managing that in reality, because that's what the main requirement really is, ensuring that you have a good set of data that you can actually act on. But other than that, it's quite simple in its nature.
Yeah. And Michael, I was also curious, since you have been looking into DCO for your organization, what would be some advice that you would have for our audience who's also looking into this?
I think the primary thing with the DCO setup, and which is where we're starting as well, is basically looking into what are we doing today that we could remove manual process in it. So do we have some direct buys on specific placements where we need to switch banners once a week or content once a week, or do we just change the offers every week or something like that? And then start by doing that and seeing that, okay, so this is like the ground floor, and then move up from there, because don't overcomplicate it. That's probably the most important thing. Get some good templates set up, because you will need to work with exact templates on how much text is there's room for in the specific banners and everything. And once you sort that out with one or two placements, then you're good to go, and then you can start being more advanced, adding more in-market segments to the same template and everything. So it's really about starting small and getting your hands dirty, so to speak. The template is a lot about, I think, starting with DCO is getting the templates in place, and once that's in place, it's not hard to add extra data and extra possibilities on that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and from my experience as well, this is kind of where a lot of advertisers get stuck in the planning phase, because you assume that you have to start out by building this huge machine, but instead you could just go small and simplify everything and just get started, because it's not as difficult as it usually sounds, and it doesn't have to be. So I think that we do have some questions now in our Q&A. I've been looking through all the questions you guys have been sending in. So first question that we have is, why is DCO so powerful for creative teams? I think this is a great question for you, Jesper.
It also touches on a lot of what Michael already said, really. It's to reduce the amount of time that you put on making creatives, essentially, ensuring that in an automated and efficient way you showcase the correct type of design and templates, and as well as messaging, to alleviate more time to actually focus on the good stuff, really, making sure that the designs are nice or any cool campaigns that are coming up, so you don't have to create several different campaigns each and every week for all of the different products that might be, I don't know, there might be some reduced price going on or whatever the case may be. But really it's to alleviate the time.
I think we have a question now that I assume is for you, Michael. The question is, does your team centrally manage the setup for all the other Nordic regions, or is every team responsible for their own setup?
Yes, so from a Nordic perspective, we basically provide input along with the local agencies, and then each local country owns the setup, so to speak. This is done because this will be the majority of it will be run from local, so we need to have local ownership. So they are, let's all be honest, if you don't have ownership of the setup, if you're not part of getting everything up and running, it's very easy to say, they did it wrong, the other guys. It's way easier to have some local ownership so everybody knows what's working and what doesn't work, and get that setup done with local, along with a Nordic input, help, whatever you want to call it. But it's important it's owned by local, as they are also running it. So that's also on the media side or the agency side. We insist that the local agency is also mixed into the setup, so to speak. So
does this also give a bit more of a better edge to the knife, let's say, in terms of having the locals or the locality, let's say, also be able to change any type of messaging that might be required specific to that local market, would you say?
It's there's no doubt about that. It's very easy to across the Nordics to say it's almost the same language, and everybody knows it's really not. But if you're from outside, English-speaking country, they would probably say that. But between Norway, Sweden, Denmark, of course, especially Finland, there's huge differences. So it needs to be owned by local. They're running it. They're using it for the majority of it, and then it's possible to tap into on a Nordic level.
I have another question here that we got, and it is, how is DCO different from dynamic creatives? I think this is a good question for you as well, Jesper.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, other than the dynamic creative is always static in what the source of information there is. DCO is just a layer on top of it. You can utilize a dynamic creative within DCO, which is also something that Michael talked a little bit about, being able to utilize a feed with all of your different products and items, really, and having them showcased dynamically through the feed source essentially. And then with DCO as the layer on top is essentially just acting on the information that you have on the audience. So if, for example, you have been scouring for a pink phone, you're able to showcase a pink phone within your advertisement.
So what is the difference between DCO and CMP? So a lot of acronyms now.
Yeah, indeed. So DCO is more, or I can start with the CMP, I think, is the creative management platform.
Exactly.
It's just for the creative, or doing all of the designs and scaling that out to all the different sizes that you might need for, let's say, your DCO endeavors or dynamic content optimization. So those are the main differences, I would say.
Can Bannerflow also help building DCO templates?
Yes, we definitely can. It's through our recently released, it's a fun tongue one, we recently released department called Creative Services, essentially, that can help with this type of setup. We, of course, also do a lot of additional help with, let's say, utilizing the sheets, ensuring that there is a good journey for the customer to help realize their goals.
Sounds cool. I can't see any more questions from the audience right now, so I hope that we answered all of your questions during this Q&A. So both a question for both you, Jasper, and for you, Michael. So if you can send our viewers home today with one a piece of advice regarding DCO, what would that be? Jasper, you want to start?
I was going to ask Michael even. So I think getting started today is number one, just testing it out, as we mentioned many times, is starting small and then building something on top of that. It's an iterative approach. Also, it doesn't have to be as complex as it has been in the past of having to code these yourselves. There are a lot of solutions, including ours, that does that for you with a very smooth interface.
Yeah, same question for you, Michael.
Yeah, my advice would really be to, depending on how your setup is, but get in touch with your media agency. Say we want to test this out. Start with one ongoing track of some kind of always on, and create it simple. Don't overcomplicate the templates at first. Just keep it really simple. Say, so this is what we want to change depending on what happens. If it's new products or a new heading every week or new background image every week, then once that's up and running, you copy it to the next in-market track or whatever you have, and then you do the changes on that one, and then you'll basically see, okay, maybe we could add this depending on where we are, but it's start small. Is really the most important thing. Just start small with one and go from there. I think everybody that works with it will see that, see the opportunities once they realize how simple it can be, because we have a tendency to overcomplicate things and blow it really out of proportions. But start small and then let everybody see what they gain from it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you both, because as I said previously, in my experience, we tend to overcomplicate things, and DCO doesn't have to be a big project that you take on. It doesn't have to be super complex. You can start really small, and it will still make a big difference for your advertising campaigns. So that would be my advice as well. Just try to get started, simplify, simplify, and simplify. So yes, I'm checking the time now, and I can see that we are getting to the end of our time here for this Bannerflow webinar. So thank you all so much for joining in and listening to us talk about how to maximize your success using DCO. And also big thank you to you, Jasper, for being here, and Michael online, and for great discussions. And if you have more questions or stuff around DCO, don't hesitate to reach out to us, speakers. We will be happy to help you out with getting started with this. And if you just want to learn some more information or read up on stuff, go to bannerflow.com and check out the page. There's a lot of useful information there around DCO. And yeah, that's it from the studio today. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.